From our Toronto studios, this is Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan. Our top story for today: leaked documents reveal Microsoft's significant role in supporting Israel's genocide in Gaza that began October 7, 2023. Internal reports obtained by DropSite News show that Microsoft has provided cloud services and artificial intelligence tools worth $10 million since the genocide began. Microsoft has not commented on the findings. Israeli military usage of Microsoft services grew by more than 155% between June 2023 and April 2024. Cloud tools like Azure, OpenAI, and translation systems reported 75% of usage. Reports about AI-targeted technologies like Lavender, which analyze data on approximately 2.3 million Gaza residents to identify potential Hamas connections, are particularly concerning. Human Rights Watch warns that these AI systems rely on flawed data, failing to distinguish between combatants and civilians, leading to wrongful targeting and potential war crimes. Reports indicate Israel has used these tools to pre-approve civilian casualties, sometimes striking individuals at home with their families. Israel's genocide in Gaza has spurred increased tech industry involvement in defense contracts, with major companies offering major discounts. Analysts say Microsoft's deepening ties with the Israeli military echo similar revelations about Google's AI assistants. Israel's defense ministry has declined to comment on the extent of Microsoft's involvement. In related news, Israeli forces have escalated their military offensive in Jenin, marking 4 consecutive days of violence in the occupied West Bank in Palestine. Additional reinforcements were deployed to the Jenin refugee camp, with eyewitnesses reporting clashes and explosions across the area. Since the Israeli military's assault began, its bulldozers have demolished infrastructure, homes, and businesses. Local sources reveal dozens of Palestinians have been detained and transferred to investigation centers. Official Palestinian figures confirm that 12 people were killed and more than 40 injured during the 4-day assault. Israeli troops shot and injured a 65-year-old man rescued by medics from the Palestine Red Crescent Society. According to the UN, Israeli forces have killed 34 Palestinians, including 6 children, in the West Bank since January. Israel's military and intelligence service said a series of operations will be carried out in Jenin as Israel fights what it calls a multi-front war that has shifted to the occupied West Bank. However, human rights organizations, including Amnesty International, argue that this characterization attempts to reframe a brutal military occupation as a defensive conflict, diverting attention from Israel's legal obligations as an occupying power under international law and justifying widespread human rights abuses. At least 873 Palestinians have been killed and more than 6,700 injured by Israel forces in the occupied West Bank, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Meanwhile, Gaza remains devastated following Israel's genocide that began in October 2023. At least 1 million children in Gaza urgently need mental health and psychosocial support for depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, the UN Humanitarian Relief Chief Tom Fletcher said Thursday. U.S. media reports that private American security contractors will monitor displaced Palestinians returning from southern Gaza to their homes in the destroyed north. The New York Times and Axios report that the planned deployment is part of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 47,283 Palestinians and wounded 111,472 since October 7, 2023. The White House has announced the start of deportation flights for undocumented migrants. Spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said on X that the flights are underway for those who entered the U.S. illegally. She said, "President Trump is sending a clear message. Illegal entry into the U.S. will have severe consequences." The White House shared photos of individuals boarding military aircraft, but did not give details about them. U.S. immigration agents arrested more than 500 undocumented migrants on Thursday. According to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, 538 arrests and 373 detainers were issued in multiple cities. A heated debate over gender regulation in public spaces has erupted in Virginia. This is after a man with 22 prior sexual offense convictions used a women's locker room at a high school by claiming to be transgender. Parents at Washington Liberty High School in Arlington were alarmed to find a naked man in the women's locker room in October 2023. Despite complaints to the school and pool officials, they were told gender equality policies allowed him access. The man, identified as Richard Kenneth Cox, was arrested later at another recreational facility. Investigations revealed his extensive criminal history, including sexual offenses against minors. Court records confirm Cox is registered as a male despite his claims of being transgender. He now faces charges including exposing himself and violating laws barring him from being near children. Cox is scheduled to appear in court on March 3rd. Just days after President Donald Trump began his second term, his supporters are already pushing him to run for a third presidential bid. Republican Congressman Andy Ogles has proposed a constitutional amendment to allow presidents to serve 3 terms instead of the current 2-term limit set by the 22nd Amendment. Ogles described Trump as the only leader capable of restoring America to greatness and argued that he needs more time to fulfill his mission. His proposal comes less than a week after Trump returned to the White House following his first term from 2017 to 2021. The proposed amendment would permit a president to serve up to 3 terms, a move unprecedented in modern U.S. history. Ogles, a member of the Trump-aligned Freedom Caucus, has also introduced a bill giving Trump the authority to negotiate the purchase of Greenland. While previous popular presidents such as Bill Clinton and Barack Obama had supporters calling for more terms, no serious efforts were made to change the rules. Trump, who will be 82 in the next election in 2028, has often argued he deserves a 3rd term, citing what he calls unfair treatment during his first presidency. Trump warns global firms manufacture in U.S. or face tariffs. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. President Donald Trump has warned international companies to manufacture goods in the U.S. or face heavy tariffs. Speaking remotely at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Trump outlined his economic strategy of tax cuts and penalties. He proposed reducing the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15% to attract investment, a move critics call a benefit for the wealthy. Companies manufacturing outside the U.S. would face high export tariffs, which Trump claims would boost Treasury revenues. He also threatened Canada, China, and Mexico with similar tariffs, raising concerns about a trade war. Economists warn such tariffs could lead to higher prices for consumers. During his inauguration, Trump vowed to review trade policies and impose tariffs on foreign imports to benefit Americans.
My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. We're bringing them down very substantially, even from the original Trump tax cuts. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff, differing amounts, but a tariff which will direct hundreds of billions of dollars and even trillions of dollars into our treasury to strengthen our economy and pay down debt.
NASA has started closing its Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility, or DEIA offices and ending related contracts. Acting Administrator Janet Petros said the decision follows President Donald Trump's executive order titled Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing. Petro reportedly criticized these programs for dividing Americans by race and wasting taxpayer money. A memo obtained by Space News urged employees to report any attempts to hide DEIA-related connections in contracts or job descriptions since November 2024. The Trump administration has mandated federal employees in DEI roles be placed on paid leave by Wednesday. All federal agencies must shut DEI offices, programs, and online platforms immediately. President Donald Trump has ordered declassification of all government records related to the assassinations of former President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and civil rights icon the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A lot of people have been waiting for this one for years, for decades, Trump said as he signed the order in the Oval Office. Trump directed an aide to ensure the pen he signed the order with would be given to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Kennedy Jr. is a former political rival who dropped out of the presidential race and backed Trump. He has now been selected to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. A prominent Kashmiri leader has raised strong objections to a proposed law in India seeking to amend the Waqf or Islamic endowment system. The law governs vast properties used for religious, educational, and charitable purposes by the Muslim community. Kashmiri religious leader Mirwais Umar Farooq appeared before an Indian parliamentary panel in New Delhi to highlight concerns over the draft Waqf Amendment Bill. He warned that the law, which would increase government oversight of Waqf properties, risks undermining Muslim representation and allowing potential misappropriation of religious assets. The Waqf system in India manages properties such as mosques, madrasas, graveyards, and orphanages. The proposed amendments aim to introduce stricter government control, require re-registration of Waqf properties, and mandate non-Muslim inclusions in Waqf board. The Indian government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, argues these changes are necessary to combat corruption and modernize the system. Critics see the move as politically motivated and part of a broader attempt to marginalize India's Muslim minority of nearly 200 million people. Muslims oppose the bill, citing fears that it erodes their autonomy over centuries-old community assets. The parliamentary panel is expected to delay its report to address the growing backlash. International Criminal Court, or ICC prosecutor Karim Khan, has requested arrest warrants for two top Taliban leaders ruling Afghanistan. These have been issued against Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada as well as others. Khan accuses them of crimes against humanity for persecuting Afghan women and girls. The ICC statement says Akhundzada and Abdul Hakim Haqqani, the Taliban's chief justice, are responsible for gender-based persecution since the Taliban's return to power in 2021. Women and girls face severe restrictions on education, work, and independence. This marks the ICC's first warrants issued in its Afghanistan investigation, which began in 2007. A three-judge panel will decide on the request, which could take months. Khan stressed the Taliban's interpretation of Sharia law cannot justify human rights abuses. Experts believe the warrants will further damage the Taliban's international standing. The ICC relies on its 125 member states for arrests, but challenges, including limited enforcement, persist. South Sudan has enforced a 30-day social media restriction to curb disturbing content linked to violence against its citizens. The ban, effective from midnight Thursday, aims to protect public safety and mental well-being, officials say. Telecom companies were directed by the National Communication Authority to block platforms. Outrage grew after videos allegedly showed militia attacks on South Sudanese in Sudan's Ghazira state. Retaliatory violence erupted in Juba, leading to a dusk-to-dawn curfew from January 17. The African Union condemned the killings and called for restraint. Sudan's ongoing civil war, which began in April 2023, has caused famine and a massive displacement crisis. The conflict involves horrific acts, including ethnic killings and sexual violence, according to the UN. Authorities may extend the social media ban if the situation remains unstable. A Croatian film chronicling the 1993 Srpski massacre during the Bosnian War has been nominated for an Oscar in the short film category. The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent, directed by Nebojsa Slijepčević, documents the Serbian Republic's army killing of 18 Bosniaks and a Croatian civilian at the Srepci train station on February 27, 1993. It highlights the brutal ethnic violence that characterized the 1992 to 1995 Bosnian War, bringing international attention to the largely forgotten atrocity. The drama has already won the European Film Academy's Best Short Film and the Cannes Film Festival Golden Palm Awards. It focuses on retired Croatian officer Tomo Buzov, who could not remain silent about the incident. It narrates the tragic tale of 19 civilians who were abducted from a train traveling from Belgrade to Bar and subsequently murdered. Only 4 bodies have been recovered in the 32 years since the massacre. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.